In digestion and absorption, firstly, let's have a look what is digestion. As per NCERT, the major component of food are carbohydrate, protein, fats, vitamins and minerals. But as you know that these are the complex form of food. All these carbohydrate, fat, vitamins and minerals, they all are complex or complexer, not simpler, complex food plus non absorbable, which means that our body cannot intake the nutrient value from all these complexer food as such. They need to be broken down with the help of enzymes. Enzymes are also called your biocatalysts, and the simpler form of food which are absorbed or assimilated in our body are amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol, dipeptides, sugars, bases and many more. So let's have a look now what digestive system is. Digestive system, or simply human digestive system, it consists of alimentary canal and digestive glands. This alimentary canal is simply the passage of food or the way through which the food passes, and the digestive glands, they secrete the enzymes or juices. They secrete the juices mainly, which consist of the enzymes, and the enzymes further help in the digestion of the complex food into the simpler food. Another thing, that digestion is a process, or it is a complex process. It is a complex process which is mainly mechanical and biochemical in nature. The digestion is mechanical in nature because here the larger part of food is getting converted into the smaller parts of food, and biochemical because it consists of enzymes which helps in digestion of this food, right? Now the alimentary canal, let's say this is your food, be it carbohydrate, protein, fats, vitamins or minerals. This food, when it enters into the mouth, this simple process is known as ingestion of food. This process is called ingestion, or the intake of food into the mouth is called ingestion. The food now enters into a cavity which is also called buccal cavity, or another name is your oral cavity. This cavity is enclosed by teeth and a muscular structure also called tongue. Now, the food from buccal cavity goes into a chamber which is the common passage for food and air, also called pharynx. Pharynx acts as the common passage for food and air. From pharynx, it goes into a tubular structure. This tubular structure, also called esophagus or food pipe, and another important name for food pipe called gullet. Here, the food passes through a movement which is called peristalsis. Peristalsis or peristaltic movement. This peristaltic movement is the alternate contraction and relaxation of bolus. Bolus is simply the food mixed with saliva, right? And from esophagus, food goes into a J-shaped muscular structure also called stomach. Stomach, another name or biological terminology for stomach is gaster. Stomach is also called gaster. Now, from stomach, food goes into small intestine, and from small intestine where maximum digestion occurs, and from small intestine to large intestine, and finally is defecated, or it comes out as waste product, and this process or defecation is also called egestion. The removal of waste product from the body is called digestion. Now, let's have a look at the structure of alimentary canal. Structure of alimentary canal is, let this be your mouth, and this is the food. Initially it is ingested in our mouth and leads into a buccal cavity. This is buccal cavity or oral cavity, and from there food goes into a common passage. The common passage is pharynx. This part here is pharynx, and from pharynx food goes into a tubular structure. This tubular structure is esophagus. Esophagus, food pipe or gullet. And from esophagus food goes into J-shaped structure. You can see that stomach looks like J. You can see that it looks like J-shaped. So, as per NCERT, stomach, or it has 4 parts, stomach or gaster. Initially here there is a sphincter. This sphincter is called gastroesophageal. Gastroesophageal sphincter. This sphincter, as you can see, is present at the junction between esophagus and stomach. That is why it is gastro and esophageal sphincter. This sphincter ensures that food enters into stomach and it does not goes back. And now let's see the structure of stomach. The initial portion where the junction at the junction of gastroesophageal sphincter, the part of the stomach, this part is called cardiac stomach. This is cardiac stomach, and this elevated part is called where the gases accumulate. This is called fundus or fundic stomach. And this curvature is the body of stomach, and the last part is the pyloric stomach. This pyloric stomach also has a sphincter. You can see that there is a sphincter. This sphincter is called pyloric sphincter. Now, this was your stomach. Stomach has 4 parts, namely cardiac, fundic, body and pyloric. Now, stomach leads into a C-shaped structure. This C-shaped curvature or structure is also called duodenum. This is duodenum. Duodenum, as per NCERT, is C-shaped. Also you can see that it looks like C. So now this C-shaped structure also further leads into the coiled part of small intestine. This is not as much coiled. This coiled part is called ileum. This coiled part is called jejunum. This is also part of small intestine, and the later part of small intestine, which is highly coiled or more coiled than jejunum, is your ileum. This is ileum. All these 3 jejunum, duodenum and ileum are part of small intestine. Now comes the large intestine. From at the point where small intestine and large intestine meet is a valve. You can see that this is part of large intestine. Here your small intestine ends, and this part or this valve is also called ileocecal valve. Ileocecal valve. This valve also ensures that the digested food does not goes back into the small intestine, and the part of large intestine which starts from ileocecal valve is also called Cecum. This is cecum. Cecum is the initial part of large intestine and it has a finger-like projection. This finger-like projection, also called vermiform appendix. Another important thing that this vermiform appendix is vestigial in nature, or this is vestigial organ. What are vestigial organs? Those organs which are present in our body but has no function currently, but they were functional in our ancestors. So in some patients, this finger-like projection appendix or vermiform appendix, this gets inflamed and that condition is called appendicitis. And in that case, this appendix is just incised and removed from the body, and as this does not do any function in our body. And earlier, what was its function? In cellulose digestion. Cellulose digestion. Now, the later part of large intestine are colon. This was the initial part. This is cecum. It has a finger-like projection, also called the vermiform appendix, and the colon. This is the ascending colon. This is ascending colon. You can see this part is ascending colon. Then is your transverse colon. This is transverse colon. Then comes the descending colon. This is your descending colon. And lastly, a swollen part or the swollen colon, also called the sigmoid colon. Sigmoid colon further goes into a storage structure. This storage structure is called rectum. This is rectum. Rectum is a part where the feces are temporarily stored, and at the last you have anus. This is anus. So this is the complete structure of alimentary canal. Let us summarize it again. The food enters into the buccal cavity through a process called ingestion. This is the intake of food into the buccal cavity. From there, food goes into a common chamber. This common chamber is called pharynx, which goes into esophagus, food pipe, also called gullet, and which leads into the stomach through gastroesophageal sphincter, and then goes into duodenum, jejunum and ileum, and later into the large intestine. You can see the path of large intestine, and finally is digested. Now, another important thing, that why pharynx is the common passage, because from here another tubular structure which lies in front or anterior of esophagus. Do remember that trachea, this is trachea. Trachea is not a part of the alimentary canal. This is another tubular structure which lies in front of esophagus, also called windpipe. Windpipe, or another name is glottis. Food pipe was what? Gullet, and windpipe is your glottis. Now, that this has a cartilaginous flap. This flap is called epiglottis. This is epiglottis. This epiglottis or this flap ensures that food particle does not enter the windpipe, or else it will choke our